Welcome again to Persona 4 Dancing All Night. Tonight we look at both Chapter 3 and 4 of the story mode, as well as the accompanying plot, gameplay, and presentation. Like before, the video amounts to a spoiler talk review and will have open spoilers for every part of the game from Chapter 4 and earlier. This is a spoiler warning, last chance to back away slowly. Or not.
Damn, getting to be more and more like Teddy.
Excuse me? Are you saying I'm round and fat?
So, you might be wondering why this episode is covering both Chapter 3 and 4. Primarily, it's because Chapter 3 mirrors Chapter 2 a bit too heavily. Chapter 4 changes up the pace a lot, and will call for a greater focus in this video. First of all, both chapters introduce further developments in gameplay that level the difficulty curve into a static equilibrium. It's particularly noticeable switching over into Chapter 4, where the difficulty may even be lessened for a song or so. At this point, many will have started to get a real hang of the controls and will likely be cruising through each song at least a clear rating. Getting fever time boost and aiming for higher performance ratings are not unreasonable goals. The curve is less than at the rate of which a typical player will be learning at, and it really shifts the focus of the story onto the story itself. The intent is clearly laid out as a desire for the story mode to be made for Persona fans, not rhythm game fans. Now, if you recall the review for Chapter 2, it followed a predictable formula where the group came across a kidnapped idol, the idol was lulled into accepting the voice's wishes, and they needed to dance to break the brainwashing. Chapter 3 is basically the same thing. Now, with a group of Rise, Naoto, Kanji, and Teddy, the four head off to save the two girls.
The hell is this place? Feels like a totally different world than outside.
I don't know. Is there a purpose to this, or is it mere coincidence?
They're certainly less decisive than the senior group, with the juniors hesitant to pick a leader and often bringing out some of the less cooperative elements of their members' personalities. The distinction is clear, as the team chemistry imbued by the senior leadership is lost, and the group finds themselves playing new roles in the group dynamic. The two saved idols on plate are Sumomo and Noizumi. Sumomo is the cutesy, moe appeal character of the idol group. In reality, she's a country bumpkin, and with a southern accent to boot. Her life tends to revolve around her homeland and family, particularly her grandmother, as she grew up in an extremely small town. Noizumi, on the other hand, is the boyish prince of the group that draws in those who care about the confidence and suave maneuvering an idol can have. She's actually a very quiet, very insecure girl who struggles to even talk to people, let alone boys or the like. When not engrossed in her idol persona, she tends to act like that. I will note, although I'm not the type to care for the shipping scene, in fact I'm more the opposite, I could totally see her getting on with Kanji down the line.
Kanji is just embarrassed, that's all. It's hard to see past his crude demeanor, but he really does accept you. So there's absolutely no reason to be scared of him.
That's right. Kanji's pretty bad at expressing his feelings, too. He's such a handful.
What? Shut up, you two!
Then, you like me?
What, huh?
You're embarrassed, right? So, I wondered if I was your type, and scary.
Outside of exploring the new characters, some new revelations are brought to the forefront. The dressing rooms with notes of a lonely person continue on, but a nagging feeling of mine was confirmed at the end as Naoto came to the same conclusion I did. The shadows that are wrapped up and brainwashed into being the audience for the Midnight Stage, these are the victims of the comas that have been brought up previously in the story, where the website pulls in the shadows of them and creates a state reminiscent of apathy syndrome from Persona 3, this time called lethargy syndrome. As Chapter 3 closes with the other group heading towards the world rumbling presence, the third branch opens up along the same time. For Chapter 4, we return to the real world where Konami is left to ponder the new reality where her idol group, her producer, her senpai, and her new friends are all missing with no one else seemingly aware of what was happening. Those around her ignore her pleas and go on normally, just thinking the groups had gone missing mysteriously. But soon enough, she runs into the Dojima family. Chapter 4 in particular helps show how nice the presentation style is. The diversity in characters, locales, and gameplay is key to this. There is a certain sharpness to the colors of the characters that allow detailed backgrounds without taking away from the focused animations of the speaking characters or the well-blended emotive symbols into the regular conversation. One thing I'd like to bring some brief attention to, though, is the dance instructor. He's clearly badly handled from an art and characterization department. His appearance is one very reminiscent of, well, let's be honest, drag queens. Yes, there are reasons not to get too held up on this clearly offensive character, not particular any notable reason to get too politically correct, but at the same time, it's a bit disheartening for a company like Atlas for them to include such a character that's clearly focused around offensive stereotypes when they have a pretty good record on this in the past. Now, the voice actor nails it. He does the presentation of the character perfectly and makes it almost non-offensive, so big props to the localization for making that character work as well as it did, but it's still very noticeable.
I've already spoken to your coach about Nanako-chan, so you can be at ease about it.
Hello, ladies! Oh, what a cute little girl! Oh, however shall I cope? They mentioned a young girl would be visiting, but look at this cutie pie!
Back on topic, Chapter 3 and 4 happen concurrently with Chapter 2 and create a three-branch story where Yu, Risei, and Konami are thrown in as the main characters of this fabulous story. But for Konami, the story takes a more professional route, with Konami's pleas for Dojima's help. Dojima is hesitant but quick to accept on the fear that his nephew may be caught up in something terrible. Again. He starts reaching out to his contacts, researching news sources, and buckling down with real nose-to-the-grindstone detective work. Now, in contrast to the typical methodologies used by the investigation team, Dojima's skills, work ethic, and competency is a refreshing breath of fresh air. As Dojima tackles the case like a pro with some occasional help from Konami, Konami spends most of her time practicing for the festival. Konami is that shy girl spurred into the industry by motivation from those who came before her. Often forgetful and often clumsy, Konami is a kind heart who will mote her distress at a moment's notice. Along with her for that ride is the ever-lovable Nanako. The big surprise comes when Konami's dance instructor accidentally discovers that she's a prodigy dancer that even drops Konami's jaw. They even have her take part in promotional material needed for the event itself after getting desperate from the missing idols and other people like even Risei and Miss Ochimizu. Though for all the attention Nanako gets, she doesn't really do much. She mainly just sits there acting cute or dances every once in a while. Unfortunately, Nanako feels more like a plot device than a character in Chapter 4.
I just have to investigate! Yay!
In contrast, her father is actually very well written. His investigation reveals new sides to him not really given much light in the original Persona 4. His newfound views on the world from his Persona 4 character development add an extra sense of depth to his concern for Nanako, Yu, and the mature insight on Konami's situation. It's impressive to the point that he actually manages to catch up and surpass the investigation team's more intimate dealing with the Midnight Stage, and gets to a point where he even surpasses their own deductions, and even deduces the point that every aspect in the case revolves around Miss Ochimizu. Next time, we'll head back to the investigation team as they meet up to investigate the rumbling noise and what could possibly be going down.
For sure! See you! Farewell? Farewell?